The day began like any other wedding day. Excitement in the air, everyone buzzing with energy. I woke up early to help my sister get ready, brushing her hair and making sure everything was perfect. She was the center of attention, the star of the show, and I, as always, was by her side. My relationship with my sister had always been close, but deep down, I could feel a shift, a tension growing over the past few months. I had always been the quiet one in the family, the one who never rocked the boat, the one who blended into the background. She was the life of the party, the one everyone adored. But there had always been a secret bitterness that she kept hidden from the world, jealousy, insecurity, and a need to be superior. I had been the one who always took the back seat, supporting her dreams, never letting on how much it hurt. As I stood there in the bridal suite, watching her prepare for the ceremony, I wondered if something was going to happen today that would change everything. The ceremony went off without a hitch. The vows were beautiful, the guests teary-eyed, and everything seemed perfect. But when it was time for the reception, everything started to unravel. My sister stood up to give her speech. She was glowing, with happiness. But there was a glint of something else in her eyes, something I couldn't quite place. She started by thanking everyone for being there, praising her new husband, but then her gaze shifted to me. And of course, I couldn't do this without my amazing sister, who has always been there for me, she began, smiling sweetly, but her tone shifted as she continued. Well, she's always been there, usually in the background, the quiet one who never causes trouble. You know, it's funny how I've always had to be the center of attention, while she's, well, let's just say she's comfortable in the shadows. A few laughs from the crowd, a slight chuckle from my parents, and my heart sank. I could feel the eyes of the guests on me, the whispers starting. I smiled weakly, but deep down, I felt the sting. I wasn't sure if it was a joke or if she was serious, but either way, something didn't sit right. The speech took a turn. My sister started telling stories from our childhood, stories I thought we had shared and laughed about. But today, they felt different. She twisted them, making me look foolish. Every joke at my expense felt like a dagger to my heart. There was the story about how I was always the shy one, too scared to ask for a second helping of food at family gatherings. The time I tripped at her birthday party and ended up in the pool. The times I had been the good daughter and kept my head down, never rocking the boat. She turned it all into a performance, mocking my quiet nature, making me feel like I didn't belong. The crowd laughed, but I didn't. It wasn't funny anymore. My face flushed red, and I could feel the weight of everyone's eyes on me. My mother looked away, as if pretending not to notice, and my father seemed uncomfortable, but didn't speak up. The worst part? My sister didn't stop. She went on and on, digging deeper, making me the punchline of her entire speech. I excused myself from the table, walking out of the reception hall into the quiet garden outside. My heart was pounding, tears brimming in my eyes. I had never felt so small. How could she do this to me? The one person I had supported, loved, and always put before myself. She had used her wedding day to tear me down, publicly humiliate me, and for what? I stood by the garden, trying to collect myself. I didn't want to make a scene, didn't want to ruin the day for her. But inside, I felt something shift. The years of supporting her, of being her silent shadow, felt like a waste. I realized in that moment that I was done being in the background. I took a deep breath and walked back into the reception hall, my emotions bubbling to the surface. My sister was laughing with her friends, oblivious to what had just happened. It was time for me to finally speak up. I walked up to the microphone, and the room went silent as I addressed the crowd. I have something to say, I began. my voice shaking at first but growing steadier with each word. For years, I've stood by your side, always in the background, always taking the hits, always supporting you. But today, you humiliated me in front of everyone. And for what? So you could feel better about yourself? I've spent my entire life taking a backseat to your needs, and today, I'm done. The room was silent. My sister looked taken aback, her face turning pale. I don't need your approval anymore, I continued. I don't need to be the quiet one, the invisible one. I'm done being your shadow. The confrontation left the room cold and tense. My sister was angry, her face flushed with rage. "How dare you ruin my day?" she screamed. "You always have to make everything about you, don't you? You've always been so needy, so pathetic." But this time, I didn't flinch. No, I've always been the one who supported you, who made you look good. But I'm done. You don't get to walk all over me anymore. The wedding felt like it was over. Guests left early, and the joy that should have filled the room was replaced with awkward tension. My parents, who had been so silent throughout it all, finally spoke. My mother apologized to me in private, tears in her eyes, and my father tried to defend my sister, but his words fell flat. I realized that day that the family I had once thought I could rely on had its cracks. The people I had loved for so long were not as supportive as I had believed. But it was also the day I realized that I didn't need them to define my worth. Months passed, and the fallout from the wedding didn't fade. My sister and I barely spoke, but as time went on, I focused on rebuilding myself. I sought therapy to heal from the emotional wounds, and I started standing up for myself in other areas of my life. I wasn't the quiet sister anymore. I was my own person. And slowly, my relationship with my family began to change. My sister, surprisingly, reached out, apologizing for her actions. But I knew it wasn't just about forgiveness. It was about growth. I had to learn to stand up for myself, and she had to learn to respect me. The wedding that had been meant to celebrate her was the catalyst for something deeper. A realization that sometimes standing up for yourself means breaking old patterns and confronting painful truths. Looking back, I don't regret speaking up. I don't regret confronting my sister. It wasn't about revenge or anger. It was about finally finding my own voice. And while the wedding may have been ruined, it marked the beginning of something much more important: the journey of learning to love and respect myself.